October 15th, 1918, midnight. A deep silence reigned over the town of Shirdi in India. But this silence was deceptive. For that night, one of history's most enigmatic figures was about to take his last breath, and his final words would mark the beginning of a prophecy that would change the world forever. The dying man, lying on his deathbed, whispered with a trembling voice to the disciples gathered around him, "I am not leaving. For me, there is no birth and death. 8 years from now, I shall return. And then, I will deliver prophecies the world has never seen before. Humanity is not yet ready for what it is about to learn." Everyone in the room held their breath. Was this merely the final delirium of a dying man? Or was it truly the last prophecy of someone who could command both time and the future? His disciples could not comprehend the meaning of these words. How could they? How could someone who was dead possibly return? And what were those things that humanity was not yet ready for? 8 years later, exactly 8 years later, in a village hundreds of kilometers away called Puttaparthi, a small child would be born to provide the answers to those questions. The words that would flow from this child's lips would influence not just a handful of people, but millions. They would alter the politics of nations, foresee wars, predict disasters, and even describe the technological future of humankind. But these prophecies would not only change lives, some would spread fear, some would bring hope, and others would unveil very dark truths. For the future was not always filled with beautiful things, and if there truly existed someone who could see beyond time itself, what they witnessed was often deeply unsettling. Tonight, we will not simply tell the story of one man. Tonight, what you will discover is the fascinating and terrifying world of the prophecies made by two different Sai Babas. Some have come true, some are still awaited, and some never happened at all. But which are real? Which are false? And did these men truly have the power to see the future? Are you ready? Because the prophecies you are about to learn may forever change not only your perspective on the future, but also every belief you hold about the very nature of time itself. In 1858, a young man arrived in the town of Shirdi. The villagers thought he was insane. He sat silently for days under a neem tree, saying nothing. No one knew who he was, nor could anyone understand where he had come from. Yet, within this quiet man's mind were astonishing visions of the future. In the early years, the villagers threw stones at him and called him mad. But gradually, his extraordinary abilities began to reveal themselves. He was not only performing miracles, he was also describing events that had not yet happened, as if he could see them unfolding before his very eyes. His first astonishing prophecy happened like this. It was a scorching summer day in 1885. Kondaji Sutar, one of the village elders, was taking his midday rest at home. Overwhelmed by the heat, he tried to relax in the shade. Suddenly, Sai Baba appeared at his door. His face was filled with deep concern. His eyes seemed fixed on a distant point, as if gazing at something far away. "Kondaji!" he called out. His voice was strange and urgent. "Get up immediately! You must check your field!" Kondaji looked at him in confusion. "What is it, Baba? Why are you so alarmed?" Sai Baba's eyes were still fixed on the distance, as though he were seeing something invisible to everyone else. "Fire! A great fire is coming. It is spreading toward your field. Your entire harvest is in danger." Kondaji was even more bewildered. The air was cool. There was no wind. "Baba, what fire? Everything is calm." "Go and see," said Sai Baba. His voice was firm, leaving no room for argument. "But hurry, before it's too late." Reluctantly, Kondaji stood up and began walking toward his field. Muttering to himself along the way, he grumbled, "This man really is mad. How could there be a fire in weather like this?" When he arrived at his land, he searched everywhere. The haystacks, the grain store, every corner of the field. There was nothing, no fire at all. Frustrated, he turned back. "Baba, there is nothing. Why did you send me for no reason?" The worried expression was still on Sai Baba's face. "Go again. This time, look more carefully. And this time, run." Annoyed but obeying, Kondaji hurried back to his field. And this time, from a distance, he noticed a thin column of smoke. His heart began to race. Running toward it, he saw that inside one of the large haystacks, fire was slowly beginning to emerge from within. The flames had not yet broken out, but the core was burning. Within minutes, the entire stack would burst into fire, and when the wind picked up, it would engulf the whole field. Just then, as if stepping onto the stage at the perfect moment, Sai Baba arrived with calm steps. In his hand was a small water pot. Kandaji cried out in panic, "Baba, bring water! More water!" But Sai Baba calmly lifted the pot and sprinkled only a few drops onto the burning haystack. Kandaji thought, what could such a small amount of water possibly do? But to his astonishment, the very moment those few drops touched the flames, the entire massive haystack fire was instantly extinguished. This became recorded as the first great prophecy. Sai Baba had not only foreseen the fire, but had intervened at the exact right moment, yet the villagers still had no idea that far greater prophecies were yet to come. And then came an even more astonishing vision. At the beginning of the 1900s, Shirdi was one of the forgotten corners of India. A small village of only a few hundred people, lost in dust and soil. Houses were made of mud, the roads were dirt, there was nothing modern at all. One day, when the village elders had gathered around Sai Baba, he painted for them a startling picture of the future. "In this village, great mansions will rise," he said. His eyes seemed to see a very distant future. Buildings of stone and iron will be built. Great men will come, important dignitaries, cannons will be fired, bands will play. The villagers looked at each other in disbelief. How could such a thing be possible? He continued, "Cars will come, horses, elephants, grand processions. Festivals will be held on this very land. People from all over the world will flock here." One of the older villagers chuckled and asked, "Baba, how can this be? This is a worthless little village. Who would ever come here?" A mysterious smile appeared on Sai Baba's face. "After I die, you will see. These lands will become sacred." At that time, his words sounded like a dream. But as the years passed, Sai Baba's popularity grew. At first, people came from nearby villages, then from distant towns, and eventually from great cities like Bombay. By the 1910s, the first temple was built. In the 1920s, the first large buildings rose in the village. By the 1930s, festivals drew thousands of visitors. And today, Shirdi has become one of the world's largest pilgrimage centers, visited by millions. Even this vision was overshadowed by what became his greatest prophecy. At the beginning of 1918, Sai Baba gave the villagers a far more striking warning. "This summer will be very difficult. An invisible death will come. Disease will enter every home. But do not be afraid. As long as I am here, I will protect you." The villagers did not understand what he meant. But a few months later, a terrible cholera epidemic broke out. At that time, cholera was a deadly disease. In neighboring villages, dozens of people began to die. Panic spread. People were afraid to leave their homes. Each day brought new reports of death. While the surrounding villages were drowning in disaster, not a single case of cholera appeared in Shirdi. The villagers rushed to Sai Baba. "Baba, how is this possible? Everywhere is filled with sickness, yet how are we protected?" At that moment, Sai Baba had brought forth a small sack of flour along with a hand mill. In front of the villagers' eyes, he began grinding wheat. People were bewildered. What's he doing at a time like this? When the flour was ready, he handed it to the villagers and said, "Take this and scatter it along the borders of the village. Surround it completely." The villagers didn't understand, but they obeyed. Through the night, they circled the village with a line of flour. And the next morning, a miracle had occurred. No disease could enter the village anymore. The epidemic lasted for months, but in Shirdi, no one fell ill. People from the surrounding villages began to flee to Shirdi because they saw that it was the only safe place. But perhaps the most striking prophecy was about his own life. Sai Baba's most astonishing prophecy concerned himself. In August 1918, while he showed no signs of illness, he spoke these words to his disciples: "This body will soon abandon me. There is not much time left." His disciples were shocked. "Baba, why do you speak this way? You are well." "For me, there is no death," Sai Baba said. "I am only changing garments. And I promise you, exactly 8 years from now, I will return in another body." "How will we know it is you?" asked his disciples. "He will recognize me. And he will come with even greater powers. He will give prophecies that will shake the world." On October 15, 1918, during the festival of Vijayadashami, he died, just as he had foretold. And exactly 8 years later, on November 23, 1926, in the village of Puttaparthi, hundreds of kilometers away, Satya Narayana Raju was born. The child born in the village of Puttaparthi was no ordinary child. Even as a baby, unusual events occurred around him. According to his mother, Eswarama, he gave signs of the future long before he could even speak. By the time he was 3 years old and began to talk, he uttered his first prophecies that astonished his family. Great ships will fly in the air, people will speak with faraway lands, iron birds will soar in the sky. In 1929, these words sounded like pure fantasy. Aviation was still in its infancy, telephones were rare, and television did not yet exist. But what came next was even more striking. When Satya was 5 years old, an event took place in the village that is still remembered today. While people were gathered at the home of an elderly woman named Subama, chatting as usual, little Satya suddenly stood up and declared, "One day, people will speak using small boxes in their hands. These boxes will be tiny, but inside them will be the whole world. People will see each other's faces and hear each other's voices." Subama laughed and asked, "How could that ever be, my child? There will be invisible lines in the air. Voices and images will travel through those lines." In 1931, these words made no sense at all. But today, they describe with perfect accuracy the technology of mobile phones and the internet. The most striking prophecy came in 1938, when he was only 12 years old. Standing before the people gathered in the village square, he delivered a shocking message. The world is preparing for a great war, but this war will be unlike anything ever seen before. Death will rain from the skies, cities will vanish into the air. The villagers didn't understand what he meant. In 1938, the world still seemed relatively calm. He continued, "This war will last for a long time. Millions of people will die, but in the end, the good will prevail." 1 year later, in 1939, the Second World War began. And indeed, it was characterized by aviation, bombs, and the deaths of millions. The turning point came on May 17, 1940. May 17, 1940. This date was a turning point in Satya's life and in the course of his future prophecies. After school, while playing with his friends, he was stung by a scorpion. But this was no ordinary accident. Following the sting, he remained unconscious for 3 days. When he regained consciousness, he was a completely different person. It was as if someone else had entered his body. His family was bewildered. The boy now spoke differently, behaved differently, and even sang songs in languages he had never learned. And on that day, he made a prophecy that deeply shook everyone around him. "I am Sai Baba, and I tell you this, India will soon be free. But this freedom will come with pain. The country will be divided in two. Millions of people will be forced to leave their homes." In 1940, India was still under British rule, and independence seemed distant. "But this is only the beginning," he continued. "Greater changes will come. People will travel into space. They will set foot on the moon. The world will become interconnected." In 1940, such words sounded like pure science fiction. There was no space technology, no computers, and the internet was beyond imagination. An even more detailed prophecy came in 1943. The British will leave this land in 1947, but before they go, they will divide the country in two. The new nation will be called Pakistan. During the partition, much blood will be shed. Hindus will remain in Muslim lands, and Muslims in Hindu lands. A great migration will take place. Mahatma Gandhi will be deeply saddened by these events, and in the end, he will be killed by a fanatic. In 1947, India indeed became independent and Pakistan was created. The Great Migration and violence unfolded, and in 1948, Gandhi was assassinated. But that will not be the end, Satya had said. Pakistan itself will be divided. The eastern part will become a separate country. In 1971, Bangladesh was founded, and Pakistan was split in two. From the 1950s onward, Satya Sai Baba's prophecies no longer concerned only India, but the entire world. Foreign visitors who came to his ashram carried his astonishing visions back to their own countries. For the first American visitors who arrived at the ashram in the 1950s, he gave a striking prophecy. In America, there will be great conflict between blacks and whites, but in the end, Equality will triumph. One day, a black leader will rule America. In the 1950s, racism was still legal and widespread in America. The idea of a black president was unimaginable. But the most astonishing vision came in 1962. To an American diplomat named Robert McNeil, who had come to the ashram, he gave a shocking warning. America's young leader is in great danger. In Dallas, yes, in Dallas he will suffer greatly. Bullets will come. The world will be shocked, McNeil asked in astonishment. Which leader, Swami? Kennedy. John Kennedy. In 1963, very terrible things will happen. On November 22, 1963, President John F. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas. Another striking prophecy was about space exploration. In the 1960s, to visitors from NASA, he gave astonishing details. Men will go to the moon. The name of the one who takes the first step will mean strong. This will happen in the summer of 1969. The name Neil Armstrong meant strong arm. On July 20th, 1969, he set foot on the moon. Another remarkable vision came in 1964. To American military officials, he gave a prophecy that was very clear. America will enter a distant war. In a land of forests, much blood will be shed, but America will not win. This war will last 10 years. The Vietnam War lasted from 1964 to 1975, and America was forced to withdraw. One of the most disturbing warnings came in the early 1980s. To Soviet scientists visiting the ashram, he gave a very detailed prophecy. In the northern land, there will be a great accident involving atomic energy. It will spread invisible death. A vast area will be affected. Many generations will suffer. The accident will happen in the spring. The city's name will be connected with the word Chernozem. On April 26, 1986, the Chernobyl disaster occurred. The word Chernobyl means black grass. Even more astonishing was the prophecy he gave in 1987 to German visitors. The divided city will be reunited. The wall will fall. From the east, great winds of change will blow. The Iron Curtain will be torn apart. This will happen in 1989, in the autumn months. On November 9, 1989, the Berlin Wall collapsed. His vision of technology was also far ahead of its time. In the 1970s, he gave a prophecy to technology experts that remains astonishing even today. People will connect to the entire world from small machines in their homes. Information will be shared instantly. Shopping, education, entertainment, all will be through these machines. These machines will be so small that people will carry them in their pockets. Another warning, vague at first but later understood, came in 1999. To American visitors, he gave a message that seemed unclear at the time. In America, the Twin Towers, very tall buildings, danger will come from the sky. At the beginning of the 21st century, there will be a great shock. On September 11, 2001, the Twin Towers were attacked. But alongside all these fulfilled prophecies, there were also dark visions, and these were perhaps the most disturbing of all. In the late 1970s, events at the ashram showed that Sai Baba's prophecies were not limited to hopeful predictions. There were darker visions as well, and perhaps these were the most unsettling. One midnight in 1978, a very private meeting was held at the ashram. Only 18 chosen students were invited. An American student, Alvin Drucker, was present that night, and years later, he recounted how Sai Baba had delivered prophecies that would shake the entire world. That night, Swami was very different, Drucker said. It was as if he was carrying a heavy burden. There was deep concern in his eyes. That night, Sai Baba said to his students, "I will tell you very heavy things. You must not share these with anyone, because humanity is not yet ready for these truths." The most striking of the prophecies he gave that night were these. The 21st century will be very difficult for humanity. Great wars will come, but these wars will not be traditional. They will be fought against invisible enemies. Diseases will be used as weapons. People will be trapped inside their own homes. Economies will collapse. Governments will use fear to control their people. The 2020s will mark the beginning of this dark era. The COVID-19 pandemic and global lockdowns bear an uncanny resemblance to this prophecy. The earth will become very hot, But this will not be a natural process. It will be because of what humans do. Factories, cars, great cities will pollute the air. The ice at the poles will melt. The seas will rise. Islands will disappear. Millions of people will be forced to leave their homes. There will be massive hurricanes, floods, and droughts. In one place, there will be floods, while at the same time in another place there will be drought. In the 1970s, these words sounded like science fiction. But today's climate crisis confirms these warnings. In the 1980s, his warnings about technology were remarkably detailed. People will live by looking at small screens. Real life and life on the screen will become mixed together. People will forget how to truly talk with one another. Children will become lost in the virtual world. Games will become more important than their real lives. Families will sit together but not speak. Everyone will just look at their own screen. These machines will also influence human thoughts. People will even ask the machines what to believe today. Social media addiction and screen dependency mirror these warnings exactly. In the 1990s, his message to visiting economists was deeply striking. The world economy is built on a great illusion, money that is not real, values that are not real. This system will collapse. There is no gold in the bank's vaults, only paper. People trust this, but one day they will wake up. The collapse will begin in 2008, but the real great collapse will come later. The global financial crisis of 2008 matched this prophecy. In 1999, he gave medical experts a very detailed prophecy about a pandemic. At the beginning of the 21st century, a great epidemic will come. This disease will emerge from China. It will pass from animals in a market to humans. It will spread very quickly. It will transmit through the respiratory system. People will infect one another by coughing. The whole world will shut down. Planes will stop flying. People will stay in their homes. They will wear masks. The elderly will be at greater risk. The young will be less affected. This description matches COVID-19 with astonishing accuracy. In the 2000s, his warnings to visiting geologists were highly disturbing. Great earthquakes will strike the world one after another. Tsunamis will wipe out coastlines. Volcanoes will awaken. In 2004, a great tsunami will come in the Indian Ocean. Hundreds of thousands of people will die. On December 26, 2004, this indeed happened. There will be a great earthquake and tsunami in Japan. A nuclear power plant will explode. In 2011, on March 11, 2011, the Fukushima disaster occurred. In 2000, to security experts, he gave a very direct warning. There will be a great attack in America. Very tall buildings will collapse. Thousands will die. After this attack, long wars will begin. The Middle East will descend into chaos. The September 11th attacks and the subsequent wars in Afghanistan and Iraq fulfilled this prophecy. In his later years, his warnings became even more unsettling. People will grow very distant from one another. Trust will disappear. Everyone will suspect everyone else. Truth and lies will become mixed. People will not know what is real. Great cities will become unlivable. People will flee to smaller settlements. These visions bear a striking resemblance to the social polarization and crisis of trust we are witnessing today. In the 2000s, the warning he gave to visiting geologists was deeply disturbing. Great earthquakes will strike the world one after another. Tsunamis will destroy coastlines. Volcanoes will awaken. In 2004, a great tsunami will come in the Indian Ocean. Hundreds of thousands of people will die. On December 26, 2004, this indeed happened. There will be a great earthquake and tsunami in Japan. A nuclear power plant will explode. In 2011, on March 11, 2011, the Fukushima disaster occurred. In his final years, his prophecies became even more unsettling. People will grow very distant from one another. Trust will disappear. Everyone will suspect everyone else. Truth and lies will become mixed. People will no longer know what is real. Great cities will become unlivable. People will flee to smaller settlements. These visions strongly resemble the social polarization and crisis of trust we are witnessing in the world today. Yet alongside all these astonishing prophecies, some of Sai Baba's predictions never came true. And this forms one of the greatest mysteries of all. If he could truly see the future, why did some of his prophecies turn out to be wrong? Sai Baba's most frequently repeated prophecy was about his own life. Time and again, before thousands of witnesses, he declared, "I will die at the age of 96. Until then, I will be in perfect health. I will have no illness." He repeated this prophecy so often that his devotees were absolutely convinced. Some even made plans, calculating that he would live until 2022. But in 2011, at the age of only 84, he died of kidney failure. This came as a great shock because it was his clearest prophecy. After his death, devotees tried to offer various explanations. Maybe he was calculating according to the Hindu calendar. Maybe he meant lunar years instead of solar years. Maybe he left deliberately because his mission was complete. But none of these explanations were truly convincing. One of his boldest prophecies was this: after 2012, the golden age will begin. Humanity will advance greatly in spirit. Evil will disappear. Yet after 2012, the world only grew more complicated. Another prophecy was, 8 years after my death, Sai Baba will be born. He will be my third incarnation. By 2019, that period had passed, but no such birth was ever announced, or at least not officially. And so, a great mystery remains. If Sai Baba truly foresaw the future, why were some of his prophecies wrong? And if he could not, then how did so many others turn out to be right? Perhaps the answer will never be known. But one thing is certain: Sai Baba's prophecies continue to shape and influence the lives of millions. So in the end, what should we think about Sai Baba's prophecies? Are they real or just legend? There is no simple answer, because within his record there are both astonishing successes and dramatic failures. How can this contradiction be explained? Perhaps the answer lies here. The human mind is always curious about the future, and when faced with uncertainty, it longs for hope. Whether Sai Baba gave real prophecies, clever predictions, or coincidences, people will continue to believe in him. Because by nature, human beings want to believe that someone can see the future. It gives them a sense of safety and control. The final word is yours. What do you think of Sai Baba's prophecies? Are they real, or an illusion born of humanity's deep desire to know what lies ahead? What we shared tonight may have answered some of your questions, or created even more. But one thing is certain: Sai Baba's prophecies will remain one of humanity's greatest mysteries. So, what do you believe?